Hello, Bob.
My husband, Bob.
Hello, Bob.
Here we go. Here we go. Welcome, Scott. Welcome, Missy, Bob. Welcome, Catherine. I don't see some of our usual suspects. Maybe they're out Christmas shopping, hopefully for me. I need presents. Actually, the last thing I need is
Excuse me for
stuff.
one moment.
I got
One
plenty
moment.
of stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's got something.
Oh, he's going to go do something. Anyway, I want to welcome our esteemed guest from the UK. So welcome to you in his pastoral background. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're covering the final 4 chapters of The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. So what a book. Oh my goodness. In fact, some of the people who aren't able to make it here live, like Virginia, who we heard from this morning in our mastermind group. For those who are new here, this is all brought to you by the paying members of the John Lavenia Success Mastermind. Go to jlsuccessmastermind.com and you can grab yourself a trial membership. But one of our members, Virginia, was talking about how I think it was Virginia, was saying that she wants to go through this again and again. It's had a profound impact.
Oh, no, that's the other one. That's
The other one.
It's calligraphy. Can't think of any.
Oh, right. That's right. Yes. Okay.
Janice.
Calligraphy lady, Janice. Right. So we've got. Thank you, Missy. Thanks for keeping my. I got so much going on right now. The fact that I'm even able to sit here and talk with you guys about, personal development philosophy.
Your head isn't
is a
twisting.
triumph. Yeah, I know. I'm surrounded with boxes right now. But these last 4 chapters, I thought he summed it up nice. Once again, for those of you who've been through the whole book, he's attacking the same ideas from multiple different angles. So some of it could occur as repetitive, but he talked about how to use our subconscious mind for forgiveness, including ourselves, by the way. And then, of course, how to remove those mental blocks. That was chapter 18, which also could lead to what? Developing new habits, right? So why do I keep doing this? And, how can I, create something more resourceful, right? How to remove fear, which I thought was an awesome chapter as well. And then wrapped up with staying young in spirit forever. How to stay young in spirit forever. And, as a person who have, for the most part, granted, I'm only in my 50s, okay? But for the most part, I've considered myself like invincible most of my life in terms of, ability and of course, good immune system and all that, but strong and able, right? And I've noticed during this whole moving experience, which I'm embarking on, and it's not the first time I've done this in recent years, but I've noticed that I'm more cautious. Right. I don't want to damage my body. So I'm a little bit more conscious of things rather than just diving in. I remember back, in my 20s and 30s, throwing a couch, on my back or something, some feats of strength and whatever. I probably am not going to do that right now. We actually, we're hiring people who like doing that sort of thing. And they're going to come help. But that's how the book wrapped up. So I think these were powerful chapters for me. Including and especially the one on forgiveness, well, all of them, staying young in spirit, and how to remove fear. So many of us who I've spoken with here in this group and in other groups that I get to work with, so many people have nagging little fears and doubts and uncertainties that I think this chapter, which one was it? Chapter 19, how to use your subconscious mind to remove fear. I think could be very beneficial. So anyway, I'm glad that you're all here. Hopefully you all enjoyed these chapters as much as I did. Quick public service announcement. We will be taking next week off. So Christmas week, holiday week, we're going to take it off. I'm going to be driving anyway. And so we'll be resuming in 2 weeks with our next book, which is going to be a Neville book, Neville Goddard. So we'll figure out which one that is. And I'll announce that via email. But back on to Joseph Murphy, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, chapters 17 through 20. Who's got some thoughts on this? Intimate crowd here tonight, so no need to raise hands or whatever, just come on out. Who's got some thoughts on these final chapters?
I actually prepared for integrity. I thought integrity was on today, your book. And I spent the last few days preparing that one.
I told you last week, I told you.
Okay. Well, did you get the email?
No, he talks about that. He talks about integrity.
Yes, that's fun.
Well, we reviewed that book a few months ago at the request of the members, right? So it was kind of weird for me reviewing my own book. It's the first time that's ever happened. It's in our members site for our the replays, the archive. But Power of Your Subconscious Mind, chapters 17 through 20. Who had some thoughts on this?
If you don't have integrity, you can't do this book. You can't cooperate with your subconscious mind. It has to be done through morality, ethics, and integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only 2 words that he needs in this book. Of course, you need the rest of it to know how to do it, but it's really choose happiness. And the last 3 days, I've had I could not pivot, as our dear friend Kelly. I could not. I just could not find a way to pivot. I prayed and prayed, but not, I guess, scientifically. I guess I chose, what is the Dorothea brand? I guess I had the will to stay that way. It was stronger than my desire to be happy, because I don't yet have enough control of that part of me. And I have some physiology going on that brings a little weakness in there from the stories of the years and years, So, but I have pivoted right before this, and because I chose to. And that's, once you make that choice, the rest is easy. It doesn't mean you're not going to fall down and fall off a couple of cliffs in the mountain, but you're still tied by the rope. You're not going to fall off into the floor. You're not going to go into the ground. You're not going to fall off the mountain. You're safe in your subconscious when you have the faith in your subconscious. And Bob and I are really making an effort to make this on many levels our new way of life. And we know we will. It's just, I wish it was instant, but it's going to be a matter of time, possibly. And because Scott, I read this book many, many years ago, and I got a lot out of it, but I didn't apply it properly. So it didn't do me any good. I've read many of these books, but there's a difference in my life now. And through John and his tutelage and everyone else in this group and their wonderful insight. But to me, that's all you have to remember. Choose happiness. Don't go along with the will to fail, because that's clearly what it was for 3 days. And it had to do with gear bubble and a lot of other stuff. I mean, it's really bad, John, really bad. But anyway, I chose happiness. And listen, when they're crying and you're losing customers and money and people are upset and they can't get the stuff on their tree, or what they're giving to their mother, who they may never see again and may die, that's the hard thing. And they don't give you crap. But I forgive them. I still want to punch them in the face, but I forgive them. And
interesting
I'm not going to
forgiveness.
lose all my Italianness, but I said to Bob, I was going Italian, now I'm going mafia.
Okay.
Oh,
But
you don't
anyway,
have the hands.
Yeah.
I chose to stop. I chose to pivot, and I was able to do it. So if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
go ahead, Scott. You had a thought on this?
Well, I mean, I'm not at the final chapters on this book.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I just started up 2 weeks ago on it. I got up to chapter 9. So I've caught up to where I was 2 weeks ago, what you guys were talking about. And I was like, so, and
That's a very
I haven't
important
even,
chapter on wealth
but
creation.
I haven't even gone into your book yet, John, and I'm like, but, when I first met you, I was like, oh, I really connect with John. I mean, I understand what he's talking about, everything, because I've read a lot of this stuff in my past, And I'm right along with Missy and all what she's saying on how to grasp it. And, when, it's like redoing something over and over again. And every time you do it, you get more out of it, and the exploration and keeping that avenue of exploration of trying to better oneself, is so, I don't know, to me, that's something I'm about. That's what I do, and sometimes have to stop and really pause for a second and breathe and just let a gap come in and say silence for a second, just to get that idea of what I'm learning from this book, and just being on the chapters I'm at, and I'm hearing what's coming. It's like I'm getting a little foretold. I haven't got there yet. I'm like,
Okay.
oh
Well,
my God.
it's the same principles. And you're in a very important couple of chapters, 8, 9.
Oh,
10.
they are.
Yeah. At least from my perspective, I think they're all important, but as they related to my life when I was first exposed to this book, it was recommended to me by Bob Proctor, and I was looking to become successful in business. And I had
Right.
mild success here and there, but I hadn't had my breakthrough. And this was one of the books that kind of helped me break through. But I think what we're talking about right now with these final chapters, and you'll get to them. And we're taking next week off anyway, and it's the holidays.
I'll
so
get there.
Yeah. But what we're talking about is what Missy was just talking about was forgiveness, which is something that I've had times, sometimes easier than others. And I think of forgiveness as, do I just abandon? Do I just abandon my feelings of having been wronged and stuff like that? And yeah, that's what it's talking about. Because who pays the price? Here's some of the essence of this chapter. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Usually Stuart gives us the full dissertation, but he's apparently not here right now. So, but I highlighted this second paragraph here. If you set up resistance in your mind, so there's a Dorothea Brand term, right? Resistance in your mind to the flow of life through you, this emotional congestion will get snarled up in your subconscious mind and cause all kinds of negative conditions. God has nothing to do with happy or chaotic conditions in the world. Right. So he's talking about blame and all this. Okay. All these conditions are brought about by man's negative and destructive thinking. Therefore, it is silly to blame God for your trouble or sickness. Okay. And for Scott Barker, who's just tuning in, to this. So he definitely quotes a lot of scripture, like Christian scripture in this book. And so the idea there that we are actually responsible for our emotional state, which is a theme that has come up again and again. By taking thought, resourceful or not, right? That we're actually in the driver's seat with a lot of this stuff. Okay.
Yes.
Now, yeah. So going on here, the minute these people entertain a God of love in their minds and hearts, and when they believe that God is the loving Father who watches over them, cares for them, guides them, sustains and strengthens them, this concept and belief about God or the life principle will be accepted by their subconscious mind, and they will find themselves blessed in countless ways. When did he say? Right then, right? The minute these people entertain. So this is not something which takes a long time. I mean, if thinking about forgiveness, which is what this whole chapter is about, we could just say to abandon, to forsake, to forgive, to let go of, right? And so what am I forsaking? All my attachment, my position. I need to assert my rightness. I've been wronged. You wronged me, right? And so who pays that price? Here he says, right. Scott, did you have a thought on that?
I have a lot of thoughts on this.
Okay.
Yeah. I have to agree 100%. I'll tell you what, there was a movie I just watched when I was reading this book, and I don't know why I was drawn to watch something like this, but I thought I was going to get something different, and it was just a completely different message. It was called The Shack. It's on Netflix. And it said it was a highly rated movie. Everybody's watching it. I watched it. And I went and I talked to my daughter about it. And a lot of this has been coming back to my kids and everybody I've been sharing a lot of this stuff with a little bit. I've been wearing off on a lot of people in a good, positive way, though. So, everything's going really good. But The Shack was the movie. And it talks about exactly what you have highlighted here. About this belief system, about, and I thought, I'm going to watch a Christian movie. Yay. And it was and it wasn't. And it was all about, and the way I look at it myself when I read something like this is like, this is it's talking about me, myself, and I, which is three characters inside of myself that most things portray to. And I'll just take a relationship with that and put it on a whole nother text in the high level of thinking is that, well, what if that we are actually immersed within the Holy Spirit and the Trinity, which is God and Jesus in a way, and these all live within us, and we're discovering them, most of them, on a per se. Now, I'm just using this as an example of just what I've read, because my knowledge has gone to the universe and actually knowing what the universe can do for me in so many different ways by using these forces that are within me. And I really do believe this 100%.
Okay.
So a lot of the things we're reading is really, to me, are really key, but they're stirring me in these ways of saying, I am on the right path of what I'm thinking, and I'm starting to share it with more people. And it seems to be stirring these same thoughts. I don't know if anybody else is experiencing these things, but I am. I'm done.
Well, thank you, Scott. Well, you're getting prompted to use the tools that were always there, right? So it's already in you. He's giving us more of like a scientific approach to it. Like, here's how you actually do the stuff. Missy was talking about choosing happiness, and that sounds pretty simple. And yet, how many of us can actually, put that together? Here he gives us examples of how, this stuff is always working, whether you're thinking about it or not, right? So subconsciously you cut your finger and immediately you're forgiven the, nature and universe, and right here's the healing process. There's no Q&A. You don't have to treat, for a healing, let's say, like, oh, I hope my finger heals or something, right? And it gets handled again and again and again, unconditionally. And I love this, where he says the only sin is ignorance of the law, and the only punishment is the automatic reaction of man's misuse of the law. So back what Missy prompted in me, right? So here's my ignorance of the law, and I don't get a pass for that. And ignorance is not bliss. No, it's not. Okay. And so I get to be ignorant and I get to suffer. So there's my punishment. Okay. And which I could turn off as soon as I, stop being so damn ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
Hooray. Right.
Yeah.
So, and when we look at it this way, I could take a lighthearted approach to it because, I can, in retrospect, I can look and say, oh, I've punished myself. Now, I just want to park on this for just a minute, because it's easy for us to assign causation elsewhere. And I'm just going to lean on Missy for a second, because I know Missy and I love Missy. Okay. But I'm Italian too. Okay. So what does that mean? Does that mean I'm hot-headed? Well, it could mean that. Does that mean that I'm passionate? Yeah. A lot of passionate stuff comes out of Italy, right? Lamborghinis and Michelangelo. And I mean, we could ascribe meaning to being Italian, right? And that could be good or bad. Okay. But we could also forgive that. We could also say, you know what, I'm me, right? There's plenty of things, from the Italian culture, which I just don't participate. So, and then furthermore, since we've been carrying these bodies around for as long as we have, is anyone here younger than 11 years old? No. Okay.
Mentally.
So, I'm sorry, 11 months old, right? So scientists informed us that every cell of our bodies changes every 11 months.
Yeah.
So this was the guy who couldn't forgive himself. He's like, well, you're not even that guy anymore. Like cellularly,
Yeah.
you're not that guy. So, and that, that was some science, right? That helped him lay aside whatever grudge he had against himself all that time,
Right.
whatever story he was telling himself about himself, and what a wrongdoer he was, right? In this case, he murdered, right? So, wow. Moving on in this chapter, and here's the thing that, again, was prompted when Missy was talking. You cannot be hurt when you know that you are a master of your thoughts. reactions and emotions, thoughts, reactions, emotions. When you know you're a master, we've got to, this is something we can't just drift through. We got to be conscious of this stuff, So anybody else have some thoughts on forgiveness?
Yeah, you talk about forgiveness. I think it has meaning in the context of the extent to which you are in control of what's happening, of those thoughts and emotions. And I've thought about this a lot, actually in the context of your book, but it certainly comes up here. That the paradigm that you're working with. Now I know Missy is talking about thinking happy thoughts, and you were saying thinking thoughts of in a certain way. And that assumes a certain amount of free will in terms of the way you think and the way you feel. Mm-hmm. I see this as a completely different paradigm. To me, the conscious mind is like a little rubber dinghy, and you're sitting in that. And the subconscious mind is like an interstellar star cruiser that can travel between galaxies and universes. But you're in control of this interstellar galactic star cruiser. And most people think it's just the dinghy. But the star cruiser is the power source that you really have available to you if you use it properly. And the thing is that subconscious it really dictates, I'd say 98% of the thoughts and the feelings you have. And you think they're free will, but I think in reality, a lot of it, the vast majority of it comes from the subconscious programming in terms of how you are programmed to respond to different scenarios. Mm-hmm. And you think it's spontaneous, but it's not really. It's the illusion of free will.
Right.
Sorry, on.
Illusion of free will. I have a hard time with that.
I know. It's like imagining you don't exist. It's something that goes counter to anything.
Making it up yourself. You put yourself into a different thing, right, Scott? Is that what you're saying? In a way, an illusion.
I think you think that your reactions are
your belief system.
A lot of them are programmed into you to come out when certain stimulus comes into your life. And you think it's you, but and you say, why did I do that? Why did I respond that way? Or why did I react that way? It's not me, but actually it is. It's a deeper part of you.
That's a statement of ignorance.
Can I jump in there, Scott? Because I knew I was off the rails. And I kept saying inside my mind as I was saying whatever I was saying, I'm off the rails. Why am I doing this? I know better. Because I was choosing to let that old programming from childhood. Now, I saw my grandfather get mad, and I saw my father get mad. And I just use the phrases. It's nothing against the Italians, but they do have a reputation for having a hot temper and good lasagna. But it was a choice. I allowed the old programming to lead the way for several days when I knew better. And you know what? I had to forgive myself for doing that. And when I did, then I could pivot. That's why I couldn't pivot. I think that just came to me right now. That's why I couldn't pivot, because I was stuck in that paradigm that you're talking about. The dinghy wasn't moving and I was expecting to go to Mars. Well, the dinghy doesn't move until you recognize what it is as this intergalactic star cruiser, as you called it. And but what powers it is forgiveness, love, and choosing happiness and being able to pivot when you're lost. Because now we have tools that we may not have had before. But tools don't do anything if they just sit in your garage or your basement. You got to use them. You can't hammer a nail with your head. You'll have a lot of problems with that. So, but that's pretty much what I was doing. And for people who watch this on YouTube, don't feel bad if this happens to you, because I thought I was much farther along than that. And it's good that I found out that I wasn't, because I see what I need to do. But it's hard.
Hold on a second. No self-deprecation though, because you are far along and you don't have to. I mean, the lie dies in the light of exposure. We're talking about ignorance, right? Know the truth will set you free, right? Free from what? Ignorance. The only thing there is to be set free from, right? So ignorance of, as Scott Barker was just talking about, ignorance of causation. Did I choose that? Free will, right? So if you're ignorant about who's causing this, If you're not confronting that, well, then you get to experience, oh, I'm a wreck and whatever. But look, we all get taken off course. I'll speak for myself. I get taken off course. There are some people, as I was reading this, there were people I was thinking, you know what? No, screw them, right? And I could name a few. Okay, and they all in Washington D.C. They're all in Washington D.C. But
I know it's
okay. But what did he say in here? Is that, well, look at this paragraph that I just paused on right here, right? If I'm going to have vibrant health and all this stuff, well, then I can't be walking around with all this toxic stuff inside me. Who owns that? Right? Barack Obama has no idea that I'm even alive.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was Tiger Woods.
Right. So, well, he's not one of the people that I sometimes let rent space in my head. Okay. But there are.
Neither does Kim Kardashian or.
Right. Well,
I didn't know you were alive until I met you.
Somebody who shakes their ass on TV. I don't know who that is. Okay. But the point is that who benefits or suffers from my chronic use of thought or failure to use thought, right? Who? Me, right? So it's all back to what Ralph Emerson called the law of laws, cause and effect. That's it. Who is cause? And if I'm ignorant as to who or what is cause, well, I get to go along for the ride. Maybe a good one, maybe a bad one. I don't know.
Saying I was being ignorant. I knew I was being ignorant. The only sin is ignorance of the law. You just had that up. I knew I was doing it. And the only punishment is the automatic reaction of, I can't read what I wrote down now. You had it up there a little while ago. I knew it was happening. It was almost like being stuck on a treadmill. But it's a choice because you just step off the treadmill. It's right there. So I was just trying, I didn't think I was self-deprecating. I thought maybe I was, I don't know. Because that is the habit of mine to feel guilty for even priests in confession. Like, it's not a sin. Like, what's the matter? What are you doing? But
impure thoughts.
What's that?
Impure thoughts.
I had impure thoughts.
Impure thoughts.
No, I've actually had a priest say, what else you got? After I've done 3 sins, I said,
what else you got? Give me, where's the beef? Where's the beef?
So I'd like to go back to something a little bit on this forgiveness thing,
We're still on it.
Yeah, I know. And I'm just trying to bring it back because, when you said forgiveness, and it's astounding, it's not like I'm forgiving other people. I always have forgiven everybody. But what's been hard is to forgive myself for some of the things that I've done to myself too, which I would dwell on. You don't want to ever do that again, blah, 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 blah. It's because I would never forgive myself for what I did and realizing that, hey, it's okay. You made a mistake. We're going to learn from that and move on. But, I have, and then, there are some things that I have caused that I realized too, that I had to come to buckle with. And then I had to forgive myself for those things that I finally realized that I was the cause of. And those are some of the difficulties that I've gone through. And some of these readings have really brought this upon me to understand that I need to forgive myself for some of these things that I've done. And, so some of the steps you go through from this is like, well, if it really is really bothering you that much, you're forgiving yourself. And if it hurt somebody else because of something you did and you finally recognize it, it's really good to go back and apologize to that person or tell them that you made that mistake, because it clears that path for you of that forgiveness, of recognizing it and actually dealing with your things within inside of you. I'm saying I've made mistakes. I don't know if everybody else has made certain mistakes in their lives, but I know I certainly have. And this has been something I've been learning to deal with.
I'd like to jump in here because as I was reading this chapter on forgiveness, it reminded me, sorry to go all theological on you, but there's a saint of the Catholic Church, Maria Goretti, that many people don't know. She's a fairly recent saint. She's only canonized in the 1950s. She was 12 years old when she was murdered. She was murdered by her neighbor, who was 20 years old at the time, because she refused his sexual advances. And he stabbed her to death. And for the longest time after he was imprisoned, they didn't give him the death penalty because she wasn't of age. But he went to prison, and for the longest time he was unrepentant. But he had a vision. He saw Maria Goretti in heaven handing him lilies. And that began to affect his conversion. And when he was released from prison, he went to Maria's mother, who was still alive, and begged her forgiveness, which is what she gladly gave. And that led him back to the path of, well, without that forgiveness, first from Maria symbolically and then from his mother in reality, he would never have really reformed. And it's very odd that the man who martyred someone who was declared a saint was present at the ceremony when she was elevated to sainthood. This is the power of forgiveness. It is the greatest power there is. It was enough that Maria forgave him, that his mother forgave him, but then he forgave himself.
Tell me about Christmas Eve, Bob. Do you remember?
Christmas Eve.
The whole town hated him when he came out of prison. Of course they did, for what he did. And it was Christmas Eve, and the mother took him to the altar with her to sit next to him and to go to communion. She knelt next to him for communion, and the town couldn't believe it. So the town had to forgive him because the mother forgave him. So she corrected an entire town of people who hated this man for how many years? Was he in jail? 20 years or something.
He'd been in jail for 20, 30 years.
20, 30 years. And so it's a wonderful story. And he told the truth of what happened that night. That's how we know the story. She kept saying, no, you will go to hell. You will go to hell. And he did what he did. But the mother, can you imagine a mother forgiving the man who killed your child? So what do we have to forgive, you know? That's
Great
most of us think.
Can I tell you something that came out of Cambodia? Very interesting. I think forgiveness also ties into the amount of injustice and the cruelty and the viciousness with which someone might have been killed or whatever. My son went to Cambodia to a special site where they had a display of hundreds and hundreds of skulls of people that Khmer Rouge killed. And he's very empathic about things. And he said when he approached it, he could physically feel that there were presences there that basically want him to stay away.
Yeah.
And basically the idea is that the people who died there died with an incredible sense of injustice, and they had no peace when they died because the justice was not served during, even for years and years afterwards. And forgiveness in that sense, even in the spiritual realm, for them was impossible because no justice had been done. These people who did this thing were never called to account. And I mean, that's the desire for justice and the way that tears your soul when you don't get it. And maybe it's separate from forgiveness, but I think they're tied together. They are tied together because these souls now, from what I understand,
yin and yang.
They can't find peace, and they can't go to heaven because their anger and their anger at the injustice of it all is so overwhelming. They took it with them to death.
Yes, they can become a wandering spirit.
Well, I don't want to get too far afield of the scientific approach to, like, present time is really what we're working with right now.
Yeah.
Right? Present time. In another book that we reviewed, where did it talk about? Wallace Wattles, Science of Getting Rich. Yeah, there may be spirits among us, and if so, mind your own business. They probably have their own problems to handle, right? You work on your stuff. Right?
Yeah, burn sage, guys.
Problems.
Just burn some sage, and you'll be just fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because really, that's what he's talking about here. Like, to understand is to forgive all. When? In present time. Each consecutive. Right. If you could just stay in present time with this stuff. So, yeah, what happened in the past? Yeah, injustices. And that's a big button, Scott. Oh, my goodness. That'll get people riled up. Right.
Mhm.
Like injustice, man. Wow. Because we just know inside of us. I mean, if you're an ethical person, you don't abide injustice. not from yourself, right? I mean, if, like the other Scott was saying, right? If you know that you've transgressed, you can go ahead and claim causation for that and responsibility for that. You know what? I harmed you. Let me make amends, right?
Mhm.
But there's such a thing as sociopaths in the world
Yeah.
and politicians, Missy. Can you believe it?
Same
Right?
thing.
And they don't, yeah, and they don't have any conscience of this.
Seems like it.
They work
Yeah.
for Satan, literally.
All right. So moving
Fuck,
on,
isn't
we're
that
already
awful?
more than halfway through our talk tonight. Mental blocks. If it's okay for you guys, if we move on,
Please do.
I appreciated that this whole idea of infinite intelligence operating through you, right? It knows and sees all, has the answer, and is revealing it to you now, present time, right? Remember before in the last chapter, in that minute.
Every day.
Okay.
Every day.
Each consecutive, well, I'm not concerned with tomorrow yet. I'm concerned with right now. Right now, it's revealing it to me. So you see that affirmation is revealing it to me now.
Yep.
And now I can rest assured that such an attitude of mind will bring order. Oh, I love order, peace, and meaning to all your undertakings. Now back to, since I just mentioned Science to Getting Rich, the whole idea of you becoming successful, and like this, the chapters that you're reading now, Scott, on becoming successful and creating wealth and all this. The idea that you could accomplish success with efficient actions, as opposed to inefficient actions. Everything takes so long, it never quite gets done, right? But efficient actions, well, how do we make those actions efficient? With purpose, when we act with purpose and with faith. Purpose and faith, according to Wallace Wattles, right? So rest assured that such an attitude of mind will bring order, peace, and meaning to all your undertakings. Each undertaking in present time is imbued with the qualities of that certainty, that confidence, right? Which is being revealed right now. So back to what Scott Barker was saying, you may not have all the answers, or you may not know that, how did I choose this, or be ignorant of all the inner workings because it's a big starship or whatever metaphor he's using, right? So I don't know all the inner workings of the starship, but I know it works. And so let me not have to sit here and analyze it to death, but rest assured. I like that. So I'm not the doer, I guess we could say. I'm not the doer. I need to know, not hope. I need to know that it's getting done. When? Now. It's getting done now. And things are delivered right on schedule. So that's back to the whole idea of understanding, right? The whole point of this book is that you understand more about how this stuff actually works, right? Because if you're ignorant of it, again, ignorance is not bliss, right? If you're ignorant, let's say I'm going to start a farm, right? And I plant the seeds. And like, I'm not eating corn, man. I'm not eating corn. It's been 15 minutes. Where's the friggin' corn? I planted the seeds, right? That's called ignorance, right? Ignorance of law. In this case, the law of gender, which states that all seeds have a gestation or incubation period. So ignorance is not bliss. And moving on, talking about creating these habits, or overcoming or replacing or supplanting unresourceful habits. Well, if we've been conditioned negatively, we could also be conditioned positively. Here's a guy who thought there was no hope for him. And here's how he broke the habit. He's like, oh, holy crap. Who caused this? Right? I opted in to some training, some conditioning, some habit, right? I opted in for that. Well, guess what? I can opt in for something else. I caused that. All of this comes back to the law of laws, cause and effect. And when we don't know how powerful we've actually been in our own lives, well, how can we be powerful moving forward? So reclaiming that, right? Reclaiming that responsibility, that causation. Now we've got options. Now we can choose. Now we're back to power of choice. You guys got any thoughts on this?
This chapter really resonated with me too, because at this point, it dawned on me how many things we do kind of on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
Because what had become ingrained habits become part of our subconscious. So it's possible for us to get in the car and go through all the motions of putting ourselves in the car, leaving the house and driving to the store or our friend's house or wherever we need to go. And because we know the route and we know exactly how to react in traffic, we don't really worry about it. We don't engage ourselves that much in what's going on. We kind of, put it on autopilot. And it really becomes a matter then of training the subconscious, as this man was doing, to think in a different way, to think in a different outcome. And before you know it, he had it. He began to expect something, and it was good.
It's a law.
There it is. Confidently expect. That's why you succeed. Not hope, not I'll try. Confidently expect. We can call that faith.
And that, speaking to that confident expectation, if you go into the car to do an errand within the 5-mile radius where all the accidents are supposed to occur, and that's all you're thinking about is all the accidents that can occur, more than likely you're going to try to avoid the accident and
Get into one.
get into one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
What did he
there's
say
been people
about
that have
that?
told me, why did I say what I said? Because they realized the power of what I said could come true. And I said, I'm so sorry for saying that. I can remember in my past, this happened, just like you're saying, where I'll throw that. And Missy reminded me of this a month or 2 months ago in our daily meeting, where our words are very powerful. Watch out what you say. Our thoughts are that powerful too.
They're things.
Well,
That's
sure.
why.
Like he says right here, whatever thought you anchor the mind upon, the latter magnifies. Another way of saying you get what you think about, or that which you validate expands.
Yes.
Right. Again, who's choosing the thoughts? Right. And there was one that I got a chuckle out of. I highlighted it in here somewhere. This was important. Imagine a friend or loved one in front of you. He does this a couple of times in these later chapters where you're actually mocking up in your mind, the conversations that you'll be having, being congratulated by that friend or loved one. Goethe did that. Right.
That's never
pretty
got it
powerful.
all the way.
It was in one of these chapters where the woman was getting ready for a flight. And then next thing you know, she's clipping out newspaper clippings of airplane disasters. And it's like Bob was just talking about, right? So in fact, we were on a plane, me and my wife and my daughter innocently enough, right? Did you hear about that plane crash? Because she likes to watch history and, all this. I was like, Trinity, don't talk about that on this plane.
Next thing you're doing is driving.
Yeah, right. Oh my goodness.
A friend of mine who used to travel a lot by plane always used to take with him the book, The Ghost of Flight 302. I think it's Flight 302. I can't remember the name of it. They made a movie out of it. Ernest Borgnine played the ghost. He was the navigator on a flight that went down. And, it was very off-putting to everybody who sat on the plane with this guy reading the book, The Ghost of Flight 302. He got a lot of chuckles out of it himself.
Before their time, Bob.
A
Not
little
terrible.
bit. A little bit. I remember seeing it.
John Wayne used to whistle a song from his movie where there was a plane crash and people on board would be like, well, don't whistle that. What are you doing? He never crashed. Bob Hope never crashed. Everybody's fine.
Okay. So fear is what we're talking about then, right? So these are the thoughts. So fear is a thought in your mind and you are afraid of your own thoughts. So again, who is causing this? Whose energy is this that's consuming our, and causing our emotional state? Well, it's ours.
Yeah,
right.
It's your conscious.
Right. So here he gives the story of the little boy who was afraid of the boogeyman. Well, the thing he feared, although the fear was real, the emotions were real, but it didn't exist. Likewise, most of your fears have no reality. They're merely a conglomeration of sinister shadows, and shadows have no reality. And here comes Ralph. Do the thing you're afraid to do, and the death of fear is certain. I think here's where he talked about the lady with the, here he talks about people are obsessed with the idea of failure. I love how he said that. So we would never admit that now, would we? But that obsession with that thing we keep thinking about, right? And so in this case, it was a guy who was so concerned that he wasn't going to pass the exam. So what you validate expands, so concerned, so afraid, right? Oh, you get to forget the answers to the exam. And he was a brilliant doctor. Okay. So he was requesting that his subconscious mind to see that he failed. And that's exactly what it did. Obsessed with failure or the idea of it. Okay. Back to being relaxed, peaceful, and confident. Where's the lady with the airplane clippings? Yeah. I think,
Yeah.
Can I mention something,
Got it.
John?
yeah.
Something you mentioned actually in your book, Integrity. You said that your biggest insights and your biggest steps forward came in that time when you did meditation for half an hour. And I thought that was extremely and very interesting observation in terms of what we're saying here as well. Because basically, when you do that, you get your conscious mind out of the way, and the subconscious can do what it's meant to do on autopilot. And I think,
Bingo.
and I think what you're talking about having faith and learning to be more efficient and all these qualities you need to achieve a certain goal. Honestly, I think it's much simpler than that. I think it's the degree to which you focus on that goal, and all these abilities, attributes, information gathering, perceptions, they will come to you automatically, because the subconscious will activate and find these things out for you, these abilities, these talents, these skills you need. All you got to do is focus on that goal enough, and the fear, the self-consciousness, the low self-esteem, those things will get pushed to the side, and that one goal will become your grand obsession, and you'll achieve it, and you will become whatever you need to become to get that goal. Because if the only thing on your mind is that goal, subconscious will give you everything you need to make that happen. That's
How many people have that level of resolve or can maintain it once they've reached the goal?
I can.
You can artificially induce
I
it.
do. I have since I've been so young, it's unreal. I've been a technician all my life. I've been a troubleshooter. I'd go to problems to bed every night all my life. I don't now too much anymore, but I used to, trying to figure out problems, and I couldn't figure them out by the end of the day. And I'd go to bed with these problems and I'd fall asleep and I'd be sound asleep. Next morning, I'd wake up. I'd go to that problem in 15 minutes, guarantee you every day. There's the problem solved.
Mm-hmm.
And today, this book, like we're reading these chapters you're telling me about, John, yes, they're very important. And I am practicing them very diligently because I understand the power of my subconscious and what it can do for me. And I've had this power in it all the time. It's just now I'm starting to gain the idea of, oh, I have more control over this than what I thought. And so I've been starting to practice this, and it's like incredible what I'm experiencing. But it's some huge self-growth that's really going on. When we talk about meditation, I don't know how to meditate, but when I'm going to sleep, I am taking those thoughts and talking to my subconscious with this very direct order of what I'm wanting or what I'm looking at. And I really do try to put that picture in that spot, because I understand that that's so visual that my subconscious really can tie itself to that, because a picture has 1,000 words and I'm saying 3 words and I give it a picture, it adds to it, It has that momentum that just gives it that much more to think about. And I've woke up in my subconscious and woke up into my conscious and went back into it, and knowing that I was solving these problems. I would wake up in the middle of the night going, why can't you just quit thinking about it? And it would be the over and over and over and over thing that would keep repeating. And I still would sleep. And I'd wake up in the morning refreshed and solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I started living on a faith that this was true. And I believed it. And I still do. And it still works the same way for me. And I used to think I was the only one with this ability. And I realized that no, everybody has this ability. You just have to let go of it and understand that it really can work. I don't know if I'm talking out of the realm here, if I'm talking weird to y'all, but no, it works. Gosh, it's so unreal.
Well, you've demonstrated success with, you're saying you don't know how to meditate, but it sounds like you do. You just quiet the mind and you can concentrate on one thing or on nothing and take some,
Yeah.
take some time, and that's what you did. You took some time, and then answers came. So back to the idea that Scott was talking about, the getting out of your own way, right?
Yeah.
Now, all of this, like all the intellectualizing about it that we're getting here in this book, gives us more, I think, tools for action and for being efficient and for being scientific in our approach, which I appreciate because I like to know how stuff works. Scott, you know engineering, right? So you don't succeed at that. You can't be a dummy and do that, right? I mean, you got to know something, right?
Yeah.
So the opposite of that, right? So here are people who do know engineering. They build things called airplanes, and here's this woman who's ignorant, obviously, and her imagination is running crazy over here, right? Now we can all take this to neurotic extremes. I can laugh and chuckle at the woman who's already projected that she's going to be drowned, and who even knows if the plane's going over water? Who knows? Okay, but here's all the catastrophes that could befall her, and it's all made up. Okay, it feels very real for her, but this is the misuse of thought. So that's why I think it's good to know what would be when I had the idea that I'm going down the wrong road. Can I cut that sentence off mid-sentence and just get back on the right track? He gives us examples of this, where as soon as someone started to, and it's all throughout the book. Oh, well, I may not have enough to make ends meet. Remember that a couple of weeks ago, we talked about that. But before you even get the words out, right? I am prospered in all of my ways, right? By day and by night, I'm being prospered in all of my interests. There is always plenty, right? Which is more of a statement of truth, right? Because if we look at the fact of that we're all still here, right? We've survived. We've always had everything we've needed, and have a little bit of faith in that. If again, what we validate expands. If we could just look at the truth, even if it doesn't seem so apparent, even if we're not surrounded by, overwhelming evidence, right? And have a bit of faith in that. In other words, get out of our own way. Wow, how much more rapidly and more powerfully we can move, how much more efficiently we can move. And that's when stuff gets done. Sometimes I just got to get out of my own way. This lady here had to get out of her own way. I don't know if she took the flight or whatever, but and I know I was thinking of Bob when I read this, because he's said it again and again. He's quoted Job again and again. The thing I feared has come upon me. So we get what we think about. A la, Strangest Secret, Earl Nightingale. We become what we think about. Or as James Allen said, in life, you don't get what you want, you get who you are. So right here is the dichotomy. When fear arises, there immediately comes with it a desire for something opposite to the thing feared. Place your attention on the thing immediately desired. So we get clarity through contrast, right? I don't want, I'm afraid of plane crashes. Okay, successful flight, safety, right? Competent, engineers and technicians and pilots and autopilots and all that. Right. So immediately go to what I do want. Right. There's clarity through that contrast. And this gets down to, I think, these little things that we tell ourselves habitually. I gave an example a week or two ago in one of our mastermind sessions. Scott Barker, you weren't in on that, but the idea that I have no time. Okay, well, what would be the opposite of that? I have plenty of time to accomplish whatever I choose to accomplish, right? So before I can get it out of my mouth, I have no time. Oh, I can accomplish anything. That's right, I can accomplish anything. Now suddenly I have time. Not for everything, I can accomplish anything. So I'm going to choose a couple of things right now. Okay, and then I'll maybe choose some other things later. But rather than pigeonholing myself back into that limited idea, I could cut that off mid-sentence. So, I'm seeing here Bob and Missy in the chat.
Zoom call. Can I call you back? Sorry.
Okay, I see it there. Okay, very good. I helped build these. Everyone that goes up comes down. Okay, thank you, Bob. We are almost out of time. Any other thoughts on these chapters? We didn't even get to the see, when we're doing 4 chapters in a week, the final chapter on how to.
I'm just on a Zoom call. Can I call you back in a second?
I'm sorry, Scott, I'm going to go ahead and mute your microphone. Okay. So how to stay young in spirit forever. Anybody have some thoughts on this one here? This is the thing that a lot of people kind of take themselves out. They think they're too old or something. So,
Yeah, the last 4 chapters, he built a nice little chain, starting with forgiveness and then fear, and now how to stay young in spirit forever, because it's what Scott Barker was saying, that you have to sort of let your conscience get out of the way. The thing about youth, which we are robbing our youth of nowadays, political comment, but there's a free spiritedness and a carefreeness about it. And you're just doing what you're doing for the sake of doing it. And when you get into the order of intention, that's when you can really foul yourself up, because you can intend something so much that the slightest hiccup in your plan throws you completely off track. Being young in spirit means letting things go and just going with the flow and getting out of your own way and trusting the process of the subconscious mind.
Trusted it.
thank you. Is that Lindsay Dollar England? Lindsay, who let you into this room with that hat?
Cold. I didn't have a hoodie on. So my kid put it on my head, so it was warm. So I'm not Santa Claus, by the way. I'm not that old. How to stay young in spirit forever. Age is but a number. How old do you feel? I mean, anybody that knows me knows that I could be climbing trees, running in circles in the yard, but it makes me laugh hysterically. Just, I don't know. I even fell out of a tree like a month ago, but you know what? I just bounced right back up and was like, did anybody see me? I mean, why do you have to act like you? I mean, yeah, we take care of our responsibilities and all, but who's to say, grow up, but don't grow old. I mean, it's all in a matter of how you feel. Kids think they can do anything, and if we're smart, we will not tell them they can't. I don't know. I don't tell my kids they can't do anything, because I say, well, I bet they looked at the person who said, let's put somebody on the moon. I bet they looked at them like they had 3 heads. I mean,
Sure.
And they did it.
Well, this whole idea of age, I think, again, perspective has the big part of it, because as it says here, it's the fear of time, not time itself.
Yeah.
That has a harmful aging effect on our minds and bodies. And he also, what did Ben Franklin say? Most men die at age 25 and then walk around for 50 years waiting to be buried.
Yeah, tiptoe. And who was it that said you're walking around tiptoeing through life, trying to make it safely to death?
Yes.
People say you only live once. No, you only die once. You live every day.
Great perspective.
Beautiful.
Lindsay Dollar England, ladies and gentlemen. Lindsay England.
Just I'm the one that you dare me to do something, I'm going to do.
Lindsay, were you selling something before you showed up late to this meeting?
No, I was just cold. We went
okay.
with my husband.
I thought for sure you were going to come to me and say, yeah, I just closed the deal. Okay.
No, I didn't have a hoodie on. I thought this had a hoodie, but my ears were cold.
Okay. Well, we're glad you made it.
And I'm not Santa Claus either. I don't have a beard.
Very good.
Yet.
I don't know if beards actually help with cold.
I don't know. It seems like it would keep your face warm. It's like Alabama. If you don't like the weather, wait 10 minutes, it'll change. So I'm waiting patiently 10 minutes so it'll get out of the 40s. Too cold for me.
Good times. Well, I think the essence of this chapter is really about perspective, and yeah, you can retire from this or that activity, but don't retire from life. Right. So you guys remember Ronald Reagan, right? So at the time, he was the oldest ever, United States president. And when he retired from that, he declined rapidly. And some people postulated, well, I guess that was his purpose, and like that's it. What now, right? Eat carbohydrates at Cracker Barrel or something. Like what now? What? Right. So, Scott, Cracker Barrel is a what would you
Southern
call it? It's a fast food. It's kind of a diner
All
kind
right.
of place, but it's comfort food.
breakfast all day long.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
I like it already.
chicken pot pies and
Biscuits
muffins,
and gravy.
gravy and stuff.
Heaven.
Right.
So,
So,
I'm gonna ask you something. So, are you familiar with Joe Dispenza?
Yeah.
I was watching something of his just recently. It was very, very interesting. He's talked about an experiment where they had these middle-aged guys, and they had them in an enclosed sort of situation. And for several days, they let them pretend they were like 20, 22-year-olds, play games, do whatever they want, play basketball, carry on totally like kids. That was the only proviso. Had to carry on like kids, basically. And what they found, they did a blood analysis and so forth of these people afterwards. And what happened is that different genes have been activated to release different proteins, and there have been physical changes in their biology in terms of fingers, joints, actually extending, all sorts of physical changes that arose because of the different combination of proteins that the genes have been activated to produce, because the mindset was considered part of the external environment that the genes had to respond to. So the mindset actually created physical changes in their bodies within a few days, chemical and physical changes. So being young the mental side is hugely important, because it literally will affect the way the genes express themselves and create proteins to keep you young. So I think that's what Joe Dispenza did is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I did an event with him a number of years ago, and he's into the synaptic connections in the brain and all that. And you're very Joe Dispenza-ish, Scott. Smack of Joe Dispenza.
Oh, I can dream. I can have delusions of grandeur, can't I?
Right.
That's just another guy. He's just another.
Very clever
Yeah,
guy.
I tell you what, Missy says you're ready to write a book.
That's right.
So listen to
awesome.
Missy. Yeah.
Thank you, Missy. You can come back again.
I will second that motion.
Yeah. Thank you.
Beautiful stuff. Well, thank you guys for enjoying this book with me. Yeah, I guess this is what Scott was just talking about, right? The secret of youth. So we'll go ahead and wrap up. I'm going to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and holiday week and all that. We're going to be back here in 2 weeks. I will announce to the email list, everyone who's on it, what our next book is going to be. Neville's name has come up 100 times, thanks to Missy and a few others here. So we're gonna dive down that road here a little bit. For anyone who's never read Neville, he was kind of like a Christian mystic dude. So we'll have more like Christian references and all that. And then I think we'll get on to something something we haven't read yet. I'll figure it out. It'll be something good. We've gone through like 10 books already, you guys. So for those of you who've been here in the mastermind group for a while,
Wow.
But I'm glad that we've opened it now for more public to view this. So again, thank you for being here. This, of course, was brought to you by the members of the John Lavenia Success Mastermind. Go to jlsuccessmastermind.com and you can get a free trial membership there. Lindsay, glad you made it. All of you. I'll see you back here. All right. Yeah, very good.
Didn't say hello to Catherine yet. Hello, Catherine. Sorry.
Yep.
Heck, Catherine.
Catherine's like a cat. She just kind of lurks in the weeds and listens. She doesn't always pounce though, So
No home is complete with that one.
yeah, there you go. Good to see you guys. Have a great couple
Happy
weeks.
holidays.
All right.
See you
Bye
next
for
year.
now. Bye-bye.